Welcome to the Book for Playmakers YouTube channel. I'm your host, Kelvin Hunt, editor of ChopChat.com. Hope you guys are doing well. If this is your first time checking out the channel, appreciate you giving us a try. Those of you that have been rocking with me for a while, welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to go over a quick Boston College preview. I'm going to get right into it. Just a quick 5 things to look for in this game. Looks like the game's going to take place at noon as regularly scheduled. Looks like the rain is going to be out of there for the most part with the noon kickoff, but it looks like the wind is going to be probably low 20s, gusting up to mid to high 20s possibly. So that's probably going to have an impact on the game. Last I looked, the spread has dropped from minus 26 to 24.5, and over under points total has dropped from 48 to 46.5 at the time of this recording, which is near 4 p.m. on Friday. So yeah, so let's get right into it. So one of the first things you want to look for in this particular game will be FSU's passing attack. Will they be able to throw the ball with the wind blowing at the rate that it will? If they do, what I think you'll see mostly is probably a game plan that they used back in 2021. As a matter of fact, it was the first game that Jordan Travis kind of assumed the starter position and never relinquished it. And what we saw in that game was a lot of short passes with bunch sets, screen passes, sending tight ends in motion and hitting them in the flats, screen passes to wide receivers, and then leaking running backs out of the backfield into the flats also. And so if the wind's blowing really hard, you probably are not going to see a lot of vertical passing, but you're going to need to be able to pass it just enough to keep that defense a little honest, so they won't just stack the box the whole time. And so FSU spread Syracuse out pretty good in that game and had quite a bit of success. I think Travis wound up throwing the ball 30 plus times in that game, which back then was a rarity. Probably look to see Johnny Wilson get some early touches, hopefully, and see him get some confidence, and hopefully he'll have a strong game if that's the case. Number 2, we're going to get into Boston College's run defense. Man, it's been terrible over the past 2 games that they've played against inferior competition. One game, though, does kind of skew those stats. Last week against Holy Cross, they did face a mobile quarterback who ran quite a bit. Matter of fact, he ran up over 100 yards against them and had 2 rushing touchdowns. But also, Holy Cross, their running back had over 100 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns also. So it wasn't just a mobile quarterback eating them up. Traditional rushing attack, did find some success against them. They're allowing, I think it's almost 5 yards a carry as far as the rushing defense. So FSU hasn't been able to really establish the run game early on the way you expect them to. Now, last year, that was a game that you really saw Trey Benson have some success. I think FSU ran for 180 yards against Boston College last year before, pulling all the starters and running the reserves out there. So this is a game that you should be able to, well, you're going to have to run the ball effectively, especially if the wind's blowing the way it looks like it's going to. So look for FSU to get Benson and Rodney Hill and Keziah Holmes, and you probably see more toward Philly in the passing game, as I mentioned earlier. But hopefully we'll see a steady mix of those trio in the run game, and like to see those guys have some early success. Not sure if Robert Scott and Maurice Smith will play in this game. If I had to bet, I would say they will not. They'll probably sit out this game again to prepare for Clemson next week. So it'd be interesting to see how much success FSU can have against this Boston College defense. That's been kind of leaky against the run in the first 2 games. The third thing to look for is Boston College has been heavily penalized. Through 2 games, they've been penalized 20 times for over 200 yards. Matter of fact, their quarterback, Thomas Castellanos, who we'll mention in a bit, he's a cocky little joker, man. He's gotten quite a few personal conduct flags for taunting or whatnot. They do have issues holding, and they've had issues with false starts on the offensive line. They've also had some issues with defensive pass interference. So those are some things to look for in this game. With the wind blowing as much as it is, we'll see as far as the defensive pass interferences and things like that. But with it being a home game, you would think the offensive line shouldn't have many issues. I mean, there probably won't be too many people this game, even if it was a beautiful day, a noon kickoff at Boston College. Even though it is the Red Bandana game, you're probably not going to have a huge crowd there. So you wouldn't think that, noise or anything like that would be a factor as far as the offensive line for Boston College. And, but, you could see quite a bit of holding called, especially, if they can't block, FSU's defensive front, which I don't expect them to be able to. So keep an eye on that. That could be something that aids FSU down the field with Boston College, kind of getting penalties called over and over and over. The fourth thing we'll mention will be, I mentioned Thomas Castellanos, the quarterback for Boston College. You probably know the name if you follow recruiting. FSU did recruit him out of high school as a running back / athlete. That's something that Mike Norvell mentioned in his press conference earlier this year. And Castellanos is a shorter, stockier, almost Russell Wilson-ish without being able to pass quite as effective as Wilson did, when he was, say, the NC State version of Russell Wilson. But, he's someone that, you're going to have to contain, so to speak. He can throw the ball, but he's only completing like 58% of his passes. And going back to last year at UCF, he only completed 56% of his passes, which was a very small snapshot. I think he only threw like 16 passes, something like that. But, Boston College hasn't faced a defensive front like FSU. So in the first 2 games that he's been out there, he's had quite a bit of time to just sit in the pocket and wait for guys to get open or whatever. It's probably not going to be the case. Well, it's not going to be the case on Saturday. And so you'll probably see a lot of him running around, scrambling, trying to make something out of nothing, which he has been able to do. And so FSU will have to be careful with, their rushing lanes, similar to the video that I did with Jaden Daniels, as far as, not over pursuing from the edges and opening up running lanes so that Castellanos can step up into those lanes and take off. So if the defensive tackles can collapse the pocket up the middle, that'll do a lot of, as far as containing him in the pocket. And so that's what I expect to see a lot of, just having those guys, contain him and then force him to throw the ball if they can throw the ball. Now, if it's really windy and Boston College can't throw the ball at all, then, it's that guy's going to go beat the hell. So it's a good that, he has a little bit of size and, he probably can take a lick and keep on ticking. So that's something to look for with Thomas Castellanos, just him out there trying to make something out of nothing, especially if the wind's blowing hard and they can't do anything through the air. All right. They did lose their top receiver, Zay Jones, or is it Zay Jones? Zay Jones or Zay Flowers? I can never remember which one. Zay somebody. He was a first-round NFL draft pick, but he was there the last 2 years whenever Boston College had Phil Jerkovic, and they pretty much contained him. So I don't expect to see much of a passing attack from Boston College this year. Lastly, young guys playing. How quickly can FSU get up in this game and get the starters out to get more of the 2s and 3s and even the 4s into the game? That'll be big, especially with Clemson on deck. So one thing to note is there's it hasn't come out yet, but it looks like that Brock Glenn may have an injury. So we may see more of AJ Duffy if that's the case. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then also, just more of the backups, more Deuce Spann, more of the offensive line guys getting in, Julian Armella, Jalen Early, all of those guys. Also more, hopefully more Darian Williamson at wide receiver. Then also on defense, hopefully we see more Blake Nicholson at linebacker, more Justin Cryer at linebacker. Hopefully we see more of those young guys in the secondary with Conrad Hussey and Edwin Joseph and Kevin Knowles potentially. He's not a young guy, but he's somebody that's going to be valuable for FSU with Akeem Dent suffering his injury last week. So those are some things to keep an eye on, guys. Hopefully FSU can come out there, establish themselves, overwhelm Boston College. Go ahead and I don't want to see any cute stuff like we saw from FSU last week against Southern Mississippi. Where I talked about it in one of the latest episodes, where it looked like they were just just backyard football and everything, with Jordan Travis scrambling and making plays. Hopefully we'll see more of a set, focused attack, and I think we will. I think with it being the first ACC conference game, that Mike Norvell wants to go ahead and get off to the right start and start laying things, laying that foundation for success in conference. And he understanding that the earlier they can build that lead, the earlier they can get these starters out of the game, and get these guys some valuable reps as backups. So if you haven't liked this video yet, guys, do me a favor and do so. We did a lot better job on the last episode. I think we got around 40 or so likes. But look, these things are getting hundreds or even a few thousand views. So look, if we can get 75 to 100 likes, I would love to see that happen. We have surpassed the 1,000 subscribers mark. So big ups to all of you supporting the channel. We really appreciate that. And just keep sharing the content that we have. I put out I guess you could say a poll on Twitter early this week, and I was talking about how can we, I'm trying to look to establish more of a consistent rhythm as far as posting what days and times. So if you could, if you haven't seen that before, if you could, in the comment section, do me a favor and let me know what you think the score is going to be in this game. Matter of fact, my score prediction, I think, was 45-10, by the way. Let me know what your score prediction in this game is. Also, let me know what your preference would be as far as scheduled content. Or there's certain days that would work, certain days and times that would work for you guys. So whether it's a Sunday and a Monday, somebody suggested Sunday, Monday, and then a Thursday, like preview type of deal. That's something that we may try to do. But if there's certain days and times that you feel would work best with your schedule, also if you would be interested in having more live streams and things like that, that's something I'll probably do more of your post-game stuff. But love to hear from you. Appreciate the support and all the interaction thus far. And again, like this, subscribe, and look, hopefully we'll get this dub on Saturday. And then it's on to Clemson. And I can't wait to put out content for that one. So until next time, go Noles.